it's a freeing type of feeling. Opportunity to be able to do anything whenever I choose to, and I don't have to ask for permission. I don't have to seek permission. We can jump on a plane at the drop of a hat. Where I remember distinctly so many times where I would go in and request for annual leave and it would be turned away, or they said it's too busy, you can't go off on this. So it was really, I felt like I was living on somebody else's time or somebody else's choices. And I think I've come so far from that.
That moment when you stop waiting for permission is where real freedom begins. Welcome to the UnCeiling You podcast. This is the podcast that helps women and purpose-driven men rise above inner ceilings and connect with people who help them grow. This season, we're exploring how connection builds confidence, clarity, and opportunity, because the right relationships just don't open doors. They remind you of who you are. Today's guest, Sasha, went from 25 years in the corporate management to building a global network of women entrepreneurs, all after going all in on her business in just 2 weeks. In this episode, you'll hear how Sasha turned uncertainty into clarity, motherhood into motivation, and connection into freedom, and how you can too. Thank you, Sasha, for being on UnCeiling You. I'm really happy to have you here. And what I wanted to ask the listeners is, what if your biggest breakthrough came from a moment you never saw coming? And for you, Sasha, the pandemic wasn't just a pause. I cannot believe how many people's lives have been changed because of the pandemic, but it was a portal into something new. And so here's my question. Can you take us back to a moment during the pandemic when you realized you couldn't return to your old career? And what did that clarity feel like?
So that's an interesting question, Natalie. I think that there were two very far and few between moments in terms of what it felt like when I realized that I couldn't go back to my normal 9 to 5, and then the clarity, because there was quite a lot of, let's say, gray cloud in between that time, actually working out that, well, why can't I go back to my career that I'd built over for the last 25 years? And it was probably a good 6 or so months that was really kind of, I didn't really know where I was going. There was no direction, and I was going in and out of different jobs, and I had no idea. And it was only just by chance that I was doing some direct marketing during the pandemic when everybody was at home. I was doing, I don't know if you've got the brand over there, Body Shop, and it was face masks and things like that all online. And I went and met somebody and gave her the products that she bought, and she told me about the virtual assistant space and the online industry as well. And that then gave clarity that maybe there was a different way.
Gotcha. And so when we think about that, or when you think about that moment, how did the moment of uncertainty from the pandemic, but at the same time of turning to start your own business and life that you have now, how do you feel now versus when you actually were working in the job that you had for 25 years?
Yeah, it's a freeing type of feeling. Opportunity to be able to, I guess, do anything whenever I choose to, and I don't have to ask for permission. I don't have to seek permission. We can jump on a plane at the drop of a hat. Where I remember distinctly so many times where I would go in and request for annual leave and it would be turned away, or they said it's too busy, you can't go off on this. So it was really, I felt like I was living on somebody else's time or somebody else's choices. And I think I've come so far from that. I couldn't imagine going back and being told exactly how to be, where to show up, what to do. And I think the other thing in terms of revenue as well, and the opportunity to earn whatever we choose to in our own business, back in the day in corporate, it was always relying upon other people performing as well. It was always, well, you're performing, but the team isn't performing, so we can't give you any more money. And there was always a limitation there on how much you can earn. And the world around us is going up in inflation and economy. And I think the opportunity in business is we have the opportunity to diversify, to increase our prices. So we are a lot more in control of the money that we can bring in to the household and to the family as well. So it's just so far and few between. And yeah, I guess the clarity is just that it's freeing, and it's a freedom of choice as well.
So can you tell us a little bit about And I introduced your business to folks in the introduction, but can you tell us a little bit about your business?
Yes, certainly. So the first business that I started was a virtual assistant business. And that was the business that came out of COVID. And I was supporting business owners around the country for online services, websites, building systems, and also event services. And then from there, I realized that I had a bit of a knack to getting fully booked quite quickly, and I grew to quite a large team within 6 months. So from there, I decided to teach other women how to start their own virtual assistant business, and that kind of has then born into this coaching business as well on the other side of things. So we very much run both of them to this day.
Gotcha. Thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
And so let's also talk about what life looks like after becoming a mother, because it doesn't fade after you become a mother. And in your case, it evolved and became even more powerful, especially with the answers to the first questions. So how did becoming a single mother reshape your view of ambition? And how do you balance the pull to survive with the desire to build something new?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think how I had for a very long time always wanted to be a mother and decided to take the journey on my own. I hadn't met Mr. Right yet, and I certainly didn't want to be an older mother. And that I wanted to be able to experience life with my child, so I did take that journey to become a solo mum. And then I think the need and the craving for something else was just so much more prominent, and I just was so unsatisfied in my 9 to 5. And she was born just before the pandemic, so I went through
Mm.
the entire pandemic with her, and it was just such an uncertainty. It was do I take her out of care or do I keep her in care? And we kind of all thought that this pandemic was going to be far and few between, and it was going to be gone, and it just kept on going on and on. So I think that it was so many realizations, and I think the drive to know that with only one income family is I kind of had to make decisions that would allow me the opportunity to bring in enough to support us as a family unit. And also, I want to give her every opportunity under the sun. Having this flexibility of running my own business and the lifestyle that I have created for us not only gives us the money to do that, but it also gives us that flexibility. And I think that drive to show her that you don't have to follow the norms of society is just so prominent for me to be able to share that with her, so that you don't have to conform to you go to school, you go to university, you get a job, you climb the corporate ladder, and then you retire. Like there's other ways that we can live our life, and we just get to choose what that looks like.
Well, I like it because you are taking radical responsibility for your life, for your child's life, and saying, hey, I want this experience for her. I want this experience for me as a mom, and then finding ways to do it and not think, well, there's only one way. I think that is beautiful. Were there moments when you questioned whether you can have both a thriving business and presence as a mom?
There are some days that that comes up, and I think there are some days where it comes up and it kind of outweighs, the good outweighs the bad. And we've just wrapped up a retreat here in Bali, and it was a trying few days when she was with the nanny being looked after, and me trying to focus on the business and things like that. That's kind of when it becomes quite a bit of a juggle, where it's kind of happening in the same place. But when she's off at school and I'm coaching online, it doesn't really come up. But I think when she's actually privy to it and it's kind of mum's there and I can't have her, that's when those days become hard, and some of the mum guilt does trickle in. But I know that what I'm doing, it's definitely going to be worth it, and she's going to understand that a little bit more as the older she gets as well.
Yes. How do you help other women make peace with that duality and believe, this juggle is possible?
Yeah, it's letting go of the guilt. And I think that there's always going to be an element of mum guilt there, but the
Yeah.
more and more mindset work that I do, the more and more I relinquish that guilt, and I get to coach my clients in that as well, because 95% of my clients are mums, and it's kind of a be okay with wanting a big business, be okay with wanting money, be okay with wanting to give your kids experience like that without any of the guilt. And sometimes we do need to work. And I think my my philosophy is communication is key, and I always explain it to her. I don't talk to her like she's a baby. She's not a baby, and she gets that sometimes I have to work, but then she also understands that we get to have amazing experiences, and we're just about wrapping up our 5 weeks here in Bali. So she gets that there's a bit of a, a
Mhm.
juggle, and it's not always going to be, 100% mum time.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny. Speaking of duality, listeners know I play tennis, and it's kind of fun. Before you start your match, you spin to see who serves first. And sometimes people have really cool things on the butt of their racket. And one person has love or money, as if you can't have both. You have to choose love or money. And I noticed that everybody, including me, would choose love. And I'm like, but I want money too. And so the next time I played this person, I was like, she spun love or money. I chose money. And everybody kind of looked at me and I'm like, what? Y'all want to choose money? But nobody says it. So I'm just gonna
Nobody
say
says
it.
it. Yep, I love that. Yep. Say what everybody wants
So
to say.
yeah, nobody wants to say it, but you're all thinking it. I know it. So you went from one client in 24 hours to fully booked in 3 weeks. And then you have a national team in 6 months. And again, we already talked about how your journey doesn't follow the rules. You basically rewrote them. What mindset allowed you to go all in so fast? And how did that decision to set the tone for the rest of your business and being a mom, what mindset helped you do that?
I think it was something that I always wanted to do. I've tried other businesses before. You could call me a serial entrepreneur. And I guess the fire, or the want and the desire was just so great. And I think I was coming from a role that I wasn't really treated very well. And it was kind of I really need this to work. And I
Oh,
think because I had seen the opportunities. So before I jumped in, I watched the space for 6 months. I was in the Facebook groups. I saw the leads, and it was only 1 week that I saw that there was 10 leads that I thought, okay, I'm going to try it. And I think once I started working with that one client, in that 1 week where I was juggling the one client and my 9 to 5, I'd had many different conversations. I had many different discovery calls, potential clients, and something just dawned on me was if I actually had the rest of the week to spend trying to talk to clients, okay, well, it might take a couple of weeks and I've got a little bit of savings to get me through. And I just kept on talking to people. I kept on talking to people. I kept on jumping on Zoom calls. And, I went all in within that first week. I went in and gave my notice. So then it was an additional week that I had to work that through. And then literally within that following week, I secured the remainder of the clients, and it was 38 hours of full-time work.
all right. That's a great story. So it's really that hustle on the side and then knowing, okay, I'm at that breaking point. I've got this.
Yeah, yeah, essentially.
So, yeah. So, what were you believing about yourself in the moment that made that level of action feel possible?
I think it was the belief in the tenure of experience that I'd had, and actually valuing the career that I had developed. I'd been in hotels and hospitality. I'd run, international events for 25 years. So it's just like, well, I'll just kind of stick to what I know and just essentially take that experience and map it across. And I think because of that, I had the confidence to be like, well, I can do this for you. I've had that tenure, and it's not something that I wasn't experienced in. So that just kind of gave me the confidence to be like, just literally keep talking to everybody.
Yeah. Were there any voices, internal or external, telling you to slow down or play it safe?
There was no internal. There was probably external, and there was
Mhm.
probably a lot of, family that were just like, this is a big risk. You've got a mortgage, you have a child on your own. And I'm like, just let me do it. Just let me do it.
What
I'll
are they
prove it
saying
to
now?
you. Yeah, very proud of what I've created and what I'm achieving, and, where we're, still got to go because there's still some big goals ahead. But yeah, they're 100% behind me now.
Well, that's fantastic. And I know that when they were asking you to play it safe, they were doing it from a loving place. And so, but you know what you've got in you, so you acted on it. So you didn't just build a bridge, you burned the rule book. And the result,
Yeah.
a career that fits your life. So,
Yeah.
what are the rules or expectations you had to break in order to build your business your way? And how did you learn to trust that unconventional path?
I think it was the main thing was I guess the revenue And I think that's where I differ from a lot of people in this space, because a lot of people come in with a lot of a lack of money mindset and think that they have to charge low because they're just starting out. Whereas I very much started quite high because I knew that I had a lot of experience. And I think
Right.
that's probably where it helped us get to a high revenue quite quickly. And it's comes from that whole corporate ladder that we all climb up when we're in the 9 to 5, where we're kind of, it's ingrained in us that we start at the bottom, we get a low wage, and then the longer we spend in a company, then we get a higher title and we get more money. And I think a lot of people, when they move from employee over to business owner, they take that mindset with them. And they're very much like, oh, well, I'm just going to sit here and charge really low. And it takes them a long time to get to where they are. So that was one of the things that I adopted really quickly. And I teach my clients to do that. So completely different to a lot of other coaches that are teaching them just to get fully booked at the cheapest rate possible. So I think that's probably one of the biggest things, was about really valuing what I had.
Yeah, I hate when I say I love that, because I say I love that all the time, but that makes 100% sense. Now, did you ever feel like an outsider in coaching or online business space because of your background or story?
Do you know what? Not really. I think because I had really, yeah, it just kind of felt like home. It kind of felt like I'd been there for ages. I belonged there. And I think I really solidified my time in terms of, I networked a lot online and I had a lot of virtual coffees with other people to begin with. And I really kind of just met people online, built an online community. So I felt like it was home, and I had so many connections. So I think that really kind of paved the way to feel like I belong there.
Gotcha. How do you let other women let go of the idea that there's a single right way to succeed?
I think it's about showing them that the path that other people have taken. And okay, yes, the way that I've taken is one way, but there's also other women that have taken different routes. And I think actually just showing them some displays of other ones, I think makes them realize that it's not just the one. So it's really a showing and a demonstrated, and kind of a I go first mentality. I've gone first and created my life in this way. You can also go down this path, or you can pick another path that is alternative to the normal society norm as well.
I think that's very powerful that you're showing people a different way. And so for the listener, if you ever feel stuck or boxed in or invisible, this is your reminder. Your power doesn't disappear. It's still there waiting for you to claim it. And so what do you say to women who knows that she is meant for more, but feels stuck, unseen, or unsure of how to move forward?
I think it's about surrounding yourself with the right people, to be quite honest. And a lot of women come into the entrepreneur space and they don't know anybody else. So I always suggest that they, gather, another bunch of women that are there to support them and back them, because, very similar to me, a lot of times it's sort of family that are, cautious for them, or they're, we'd love to be like, maybe you should go back to work or 9 to 5. And then they start hearing all of these other voices around. So it's about, how can you surround yourself with the same like-minded people that are on the same journey to pretty much be there to hold the space for you and to kind of back you and encourage you to change the way that you feel and think about yourself, because I think that's super powerful. So really kind of the sisterhood of, other female entrepreneurs is really important.
Thank you for that answer, because this season is all about networking and the power of networking. And so how do you help women move forward from that hesitation to a moment that helps them get momentum in their journey?
Yeah, so the way that I like to do it is I do bring a lot of people together in terms of co-working sessions. We do in-person co-working sessions. We also do free ones in our community as well. Our community is growing to over 6,500 now online in our Facebook group. So we do free sessions there, as well as just online networking threads as well. So really kind of putting people together and collaborating, and find somebody here that you can potentially work with, or who's in your area. So that's the way I like to facilitate that, as well as bringing them together in other networking, guest speaking type of sessions as well.
Okay. I generally ask my guests to give me the answers to 5 questions for the insider group, but for our listeners today, I'm opening up these questions to everybody, so everybody gets to hear it. So right now, let's go ahead and have you introduce how folks can get a hold of you, especially if them starting their own business is like they'd love to meet you and figure out if this is a path for you. I'd love for them to have that opportunity. And then we'll go into these rapid fire questions.
Well, so the best place is on my website on www.sashaeburne.com, or even just shoot me a DM on Instagram, which my handle is just Sasha Eburne, SASHAEBURNE __, and I'm always up for a chat and direct message.
Awesome. Okay, so here's the rapid fire questions that are normally only available to our insider group. And for those that are in the insider group, don't worry, we'll have some other things that are special for you. So what did you have to grieve when you walked away from your old career?
I think it was just all of the extra time that I put in. I think that was the hard bit. It was just the loyalty, the blood, sweat, and tears. It was just, I'd been trying to climb that ladder for so long, and it was just like, poof, just gone. And I think it was, there was a lot of times that overtime was expected. We were never paid for overtime. So I think it was just like, what have I been doing with my entire life?
I could see that. I could see that in it, but and what did you find as a result of walking away?
A whole new life.
Yeah.
A whole new life full of so much more.
So what identity or relationships or comfort did you feel like you left behind, and how did you process that?
I think it took me some time to realize where it was. And I realized moving into this space is I have really solid, deeper connections with people and deeper relationships. And I think not until I developed those relationships did I realize that all of the relationships in the past 9 to 5 careers, they were all surface level, they were all shallow. It was all, going to get your morning coffee with them. And it was just small talk. And it was just like, you really never got to know people. So I think that's what I've really worked out in this space is you can have a lot more deeper connections and authentic conversations with people that mean so much more.
Gotcha. Tell me, when did you first feel like a real CEO, not just someone building a business?
Really great question. I think probably when I'd hit that 50, it was 6 months in and I got to a team of 15, I was just like, woof, like this is a real business now. That's probably the point that I felt like a real CEO.
Yeah. Wow. And how did it change your energy or leadership style when you had that realization?
It was interesting because it wasn't the realization that I thought I wanted, because I wanted a big team. And when I got the big team, I realized I actually didn't want it, because I'd actually just become a team manager. And I was just like, this isn't what the role of a CEO is. So then we just really had to look at the business and actually worked out what we wanted for it to diversify it. So now we run a big business, but on a very lean team, and we allow everybody the opportunity to kind of grow and morph within the business rather than have sort of lots of people just jumping in and out. So it's a solid team that have been with the business for a while. So we just kind of restructure. We have different values that we like to live by and like to support our team with than what we did in the past, because it was just kind of just make it up as we go along. But the longer that I spend in business, the more I get to create the business how I choose to.
Got it. So you're constantly looking at it, say, okay, is this the business that I want? And I love the fact that you're also helping your team morph into the business. Sometimes being in a small business is fantastic because you get to wear so many different hats. Every day is very exciting. What limiting belief still tries to sneak back in, and how do you catch it before it takes hold?
It comes and it goes, and I've done so much work on limiting beliefs, but I think sometimes the fear of failure still comes up. Even though we're going into our 5th year in business, it's still like, what if this doesn't work? And I continually do the work every single day to be like, well, on reflection, I've been doing it every single day for the past 4 years. So what would actually change?
Yeah.
And the thing is, what I've learned is the market can change, and then we just need to adapt. And I think that a lot of people fall back into the whole, well, it's not working, I'm going to go back to my 9 to 5. Whereas when things stop working here, I'm just like, well, where do we need to diversify? What do we need to change? What new product do we need to bring out? What new coaching program do we need to bring? So it's just about adapting to the market trends to stay new and apparent. And we get to pivot within business rather than reverting back to, oh, we failed. It's just all lessons.
It's all lessons. On the flip side of it, have you ever been afraid of your own potential? Like sometimes it's not the failure that's the scary thing, it's the power.
Oh, yeah. Yep. There's definitely been some elements of fear of successes, and I catch myself sometimes and I'm just like, oh, we're not going to go that big just yet. I'm just like, hang on. where is that coming from? Like, where is that fear? So sometimes there is definitely an element of fear of success, and that's probably one of the things that I'm working on, because we do have the capabilities to go bigger and wider and stronger, and I have to just allow that to flow.
Yeah. So as your daughter watches you and models your ambition, what do you hope that she learns?
But there should be no fear. You should just jump. You should just jump. You should jump into every opportunity that comes along, and you should just immerse yourself into the experience. And those fears are alert behaviors and things that we are told over time. So I'm very cautious in the language that I use so that she doesn't develop the fears.
Well, I really appreciate you very succinctly talking about your story, the timelines of it, and your mindset. I think it's very helpful for other women to hear. They can resonate with it and say, okay. And now not only have they heard your story, but through you, they would have that path as well. So thank you for developing all the lines of coaching, your business, and helping other women get into business.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you being on Unsealing You. And I'm looking forward to having this out with everybody.
Amazing. Thanks so much for the opportunity to chat with you today.
Thanks. If Sasha's story reminded you that freedom isn't about doing it alone, it's about connecting with people who help you rise. Take that as your cue to stop waiting for permission. Here's what we learned today. Freedom begins the moment you trust yourself enough to move. Connection is the bridge between uncertainty and opportunity. And the most powerful network you can build starts with the one conversation that feels real. If you're ready to go deeper, join us inside the Unsealing Zone, where we turn each episode into action with tools, discussion, prompts, and a community of people who are building freedom together. The links are in the show notes. And remember, take radical responsibility for your life and watch the ripple effect unfold.